We had been married 5 years, and my husband and I treated each other with the utmost respect. But I returned from a 3-month business trip and found my husband with a young girl in his arms. The young girl's eyes were bright and sparkling. When she smiled she looked a lot like I used to. Seeing me, she showed no alarm. She turned, hooked an arm around my husband's neck, and cooed softly, "Victor, is this the goddess you were talking about? Time spares no beauty, sister's wrinkles are so lovely." The moment my words fell, the surroundings fell silent. I sneered, breaking the silence. "So, Victor, you're not getting any younger, and you still take to keeping a mistress?" The people around us forced awkward smiles and stepped in to smooth things over. I looked at my husband, who remained unmoved, and suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. "Evelyn, finally back, order something to eat." I heard Evelyn landed the Pris Group account this time. Amazing. The atmosphere had finally eased a bit, but the girl spoke up, "Evelyn is incredible. I'm nothing like her, so inexperienced. I've never even been abroad. I heard that women who dominate the negotiation table all have their own tricks." As she spoke she leaned into her husband Victor and her eyes reddened. "Not like me, I'm too stupid. I even lost one of your clients before." At her words, everyone present exchanged glances, their eyes flicking back and forth between us. I frowned. "What client?" "When I was overseas, the assistant told me that one of Victor's longtime clients had suddenly cut off their cooperation. I was busy negotiating business at the time and didn't ask much. It only occurred to me now." Victor held her hand and looked at me. "Just an old client, nothing to worry about. Evelyn, Sophia is just a newcomer, don't mind it." After saying that he smoothed Sophia's hair, stood up and put his arm around her shoulders. "It's very simple to see the world, I'll take you abroad, we'll go right now." Victor ignored my expression and, pulling Sophia along, was about to leave. Sophia blushed, her eyes full of excitement, but when she saw me there was a hint of provocation on her face. "Forget it, Evelyn will be angry." "I'm not angry." I cut her off first, turning to Victor, "We're getting a divorce. Play with her as long as you like, go wherever you want." Victor chuckled, "Evelyn, playing hard to get really isn't for you. If you divorce me, you'll have to give up all the assets. Can you bear that?" He snorted coldly and led Sophia away. Seeing this, the people present all found excuses to leave. What was supposed to be my welcome home banquet was suddenly empty. I looked at the dishes on the table, picked up my chopsticks, and ate, one bite at a time. Until a sourness rose in my stomach, I clutched my belly and rushed to the bathroom to vomit. When I looked up and saw myself in the mirror, I pulled out my phone and contacted the lawyer, telling him to draft the divorce agreement. When I married Victor, my mother-in-law looked down on my background and made me sign a prenuptial agreement. If we divorced, I would have to forfeit all my assets. Ridiculous. Did Victor think I married him for his money? He was the one who proposed to me, I married him never for money. So Victor threatening me with money was wrong from the start. I stepped out of the private room, the cold wind hit me and I felt dizzy, but I forced myself to go to the villa. 3 months away, and the house was full of things that weren't mine. Cartoon tableware in the kitchen, soft pink curtains, each item announcing the identity of its owner. The servant saw me and trembled with fear. "Madam, you're back." I went straight upstairs. The servant hesitated, about to speak but stopped. "Madam." I turned to look at her. She hesitated for a few seconds, then spoke, "Sir slept with that woman in the master bedroom." Hearing that, I felt dizzy. When I came to, I couldn't wait to rush into the master bedroom, and I gasped. The original minimalist style was gone, Sophia's cartoon throw pillow lay across the headboard. Her clothes hung in my closet as if they had every right to be there. Everything that belonged to me had vanished. No wonder she was so bold, she'd clearly been to the villa before. I slipped off my ring and took my things with me. There wasn't much to take anyway. I sent the divorce papers to Victor, then turned and left with my suitcase. For 5 straight days, Victor didn't reply to me, and in the end I couldn't wait any longer and reached out to him first. With the contract for priests signed, my company's business also steadied considerably. It was time to negotiate with him, but before that I went to the hospital. Victor and I had been married 5 years without children, and we both had annual physical exams every year. But the results were disappointing. Victor had a problem, and no matter how hard I tried it would be in vain. Considering his fragile pride, I didn't expose him, and he never brought it up, always saying it was fine. My mother-in-law had never liked me to begin with. Because of this incident, I pretty much bore the brunt of her temper. The outcome this time left me dumbfounded. Victor had actually recovered. Half an hour later, I sat on the bench outside the hospital, the doctor's words ringing in my ears. Mr. Victor recovered 6 months ago. A month ago he brought a girl here for the full pre-pregnancy checkup. You're his assistant, right? I'm sure they'll have good news soon. I suddenly felt sick to my stomach. Victor hid his desire for a child from me. It's not that I can't have children. We'd been married 5 years while he let my mother-in-law mock and belittle me. He recovered and didn't tell me, and instead went to another woman. It seems I was right to decide to separate from him. I balled up the test results and tossed them into the trash, then got dressed up and headed to the office. By the time I arrived, laughter was already spilling from the workspace from a distance, and someone even mentioned my name. I couldn't help slowing my pace and cupping my ear to listen. Mr. Victor treats you so well. He took you all the way to Hokkaido and even gave you such a huge diamond ring. That's a ring Evelyn doesn't have. Really? I don't know much about that. All I know is Victor said I deserve the best, and he'll give me whatever I want. Sophia stroked the diamond ring on her finger, a smug smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Everyone around her was fawning over her. She must have been elated during the months I was away. For a moment everyone clustered around her, and no one noticed that I had already come in. It wasn't until I stood in front of her that Sophia's expression instantly shifted to awkwardness. Then, as if remembering something, she smiled. Evelyn, you're here. Look, Victor gave this to me. Pretty, isn't it? She held up her hand and flashed the diamond ring. I raised an eyebrow. It's nice. I saw this design abroad, worth 3 million. But you'll have to give me 1.5 million. What do you mean? You were keeping a mistress using our marital assets. That has to be repaid. Evelyn, you must have forgotten, you signed a prenuptial agreement, so this can't be treated as marital property. She looked at me arrogantly and smiled. I couldn't deny it. You reminded me, indeed it can't be counted as marital property, but... But what? She raised an eyebrow at me. Evelyn, don't scare me like this. Victor already said it, he wouldn't want an old woman like you. You've been married 5 years and couldn't give him a child. He's long been bored of you. Facing you every day, he has to think about your crow's feet. It's almost sickening. I'm different, I can give him. Smack. I slapped her, hard enough to swell one side of her face. You can give him many things, but you can never take my place. Tell Victor I'm waiting for him in the conference room. If he doesn't come within 10 minutes, I'll leak all of his company's client files. Hearing that, his assistant hurried off to find Victor. I glanced at Sophia with disdain and walked straight to the conference room. Her sobs and screams followed behind me, but no one dared to intervene. I had barely stepped in when Victor came in. When he saw me his face darkened. What do you mean by this? Sophia is young, she's just a diamond ring. Why are you being so petty? It means nothing, Victor. Until we've completely separated, you'd better keep her away from me. If she dares to dance in front of me again, don't blame me for being ruthless. With a slap I threw the divorce agreement onto the table. If you don't sign, I'll make it public. Once word gets out that an executive is getting divorced, I don't think you can withstand the fallout. Victor immediately snorted and sat opposite me. Evelyn, it's ridiculous that you tried to get my attention this way. I tapped the table. I don't have patience. Sign it. At that moment Sophia stood in the doorway and walked in hesitantly. Victor, it's all my fault. I'm the one who caused your divorce. Evelyn, I'm sorry. I'm leaving, I'll never show my face in front of you again." She cried and turned to leave. Victor's face darkened, he stood up to give chase. I grabbed him roughly. "Victor, sign. Or I'll go public that she's your mistress. You should know that right now I can't stand on the same footing as you, but you have plenty of rivals." Victor gritted his teeth. A shout came from outside, "Miss Sophia." Moments later a scream rang out, Sophia fell from the upstairs. Victor shrugged my hand off and ran straight out. His mistress fell down the stairs, clutching her leg, tears streaming down her face. Victor scooped her up horizontally. Everyone could see how anxious and concerned he was for her. "Victor, just let me go. They're all calling me a mistress, Who dares? You're not a mistress, you're my lover." I leaned against the conference room doorway, holding up my phone and watching the two of them so deeply entangled with a hint of mockery. Truly love stronger than gold. I wonder how far the stock of Loot Corporation will plummet once this video is sold. Victor ground his teeth. "Evelyn. You don't need to shout so loud, I can hear you. If you don't sign, prepare to be ruined. You may sit high and mighty, but your mistress's days will likely be miserable. I hear she's from T University, what a coincidence, so am I." I looked at Victor, he knew me. I'm meticulous about every penny. Once I get serious, I'll fight tooth and nail to bite a chunk out of him. As for Sophia, she was in an even worse state. At this moment Sophia's face was deathly pale. "Sister. Don't call me sister. I'm an only child, no one in my family would ever be a mistress." Sophia immediately burst into tears. "Victor, please let me down. I'll go right now." Couldn't Victor see it? Of course he knew Sophia was doing it on purpose, he was just choosing to look the other way. I threw the agreement at him, took out my phone, and said, "If you don't sign, I'll send it to everyone." He gritted his teeth and signed, then hurled the pen at me with such force that the ink splattered black across my skirt. Victor shouted, "Evelyn, go ahead and ruin yourself." I said nothing, took the divorce papers, and walked away without looking back. "Victor, we will never see each other again." After I returned I went back to my company. Over the years I worked hard to stand on the same level as Victor. I bit the bullet and built my small company bit by bit. There's no denying I rode on the Liu family's influence, but not using it would have been foolish. If I didn't care about his money, naturally I would care about his connections. Over the years my careful efforts have finally begun to pay off. Victor asked me to give up all my assets. He thought I was playing hard to get, but actually I was just tired. I really didn't want to carry on like that with him. In the second year of our marriage he already had another woman. I made a scene, Victor came to his senses and returned to the family, and after that I discovered, and after that I let it go. It's just a bit of play acting, nothing serious. But after 5 years, his attitude toward the women outside got more and more serious, and this time he crossed my bottom line. He wanted to have a child with the woman outside. I absolutely couldn't tolerate that. Over the years my efforts had been visible to everyone, so more or less they gave me some face. I didn't hide the news of the divorce, I told our clients and the people at the company immediately. I want everyone to know that I'm divorced, all the assets have been divided cleanly. From now on I will no longer be swayed by Victor, and there's no way I'll go easy on him. The first person to come find me was Rachel. She saw that my expression hadn't changed and raised an eyebrow. "I thought you'd be heartbroken. Looking at you now, you're doing pretty well. It's not like we were dying and parting forever, no need to act like I'm about to jump off a bridge." Rachel exhaled in relief. "That's good. I heard you got the priest contract back. Victor still doesn't know, does he? How's the collaboration going?" There were many eager to grab a slice of the pie, and Rachel was undoubtedly the most suitable. I thought for a moment and handed over an agreement. Rachel couldn't help but exclaim, "Evelyn, you're brilliant. If Victor knew you'd secretly taken that many shares from him, he'd probably jump through the roof." "Willing to cooperate? These are the terms, help me cash out and get in touch with those people." At the mention, Rachel signed without hesitation. I had intended to share Priest's contract with Victor. But he chose Sophia. There was still a month left in the divorce cooling-off period, and I was busier than ever. Victor didn't call me once, but that didn't stop Sophia from cavorting around. She was showing off their love all over social media. I finally drove the old woman away, bravely chasing love. My dream has come true. Today Victor and I went to watch the meteor shower. He put his arms around me from behind and said I'm the wish he made. Heaven sent me to him to save him. The villa Victor gave me, take care of all that old woman's belongings. She was brazen, completely unaware of what trouble this would bring Victor. Sophia was ecstatic. She'd been seducing Victor for 3 months, and in that time had hooked a rich man. Seeing Victor anxious for her now made her even more excited. For a whole half-month, Evelyn didn't come back. She watched Victor's expression cautiously and held him. Victor, I must have upset Evelyn. She still hasn't come back. Maybe I should just move out. Victor gave her but a pat. Little witch, who said you should leave? With me here, no one can drive you away. Don't worry, stay. Victor looked at his phone. For half a month, Evelyn hadn't sent him a single message or made a single call. He'd thought she was angry, so he was giving her the cold shoulder. The guys all said you shouldn't spoil a woman, and Evelyn would be no exception. Evelyn was already in her 30s, yet she was still acting like those young girls, vying for attention and getting jealous. Victor wanted to call her, and the first thing he said when she picked up was, Evelyn, have you figured it out? You've been causing a scene for so long, and you're still not coming back. Hearing that, I merely chuckled. Don't worry, we'll see each other in half a month. Half a month? Once the cooling-off period is over, I'll meet you. Victor snapped, Evelyn. You really want a divorce from me? A woman is just a woman, everyone in this circle is like that, why can't you accept it? So then, I can play men too. Tonight I'll go find a male model to try it out. You dare? Victor, don't be so double-standard. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau in half a month. If you don't show up, I have ways. Victor was stunned, staring at the phone screen. The other side had already hung up. He was furious, and smashed the phone hard. Evelyn, well done. He turned his head to look at Sophia not far away. Seeing her gleefully picking flowers, his pupils suddenly constricted and he hurried out. What are you doing? Sophia paused, then cupped the camellia in her hands. Look, the camellias are so pretty. I picked one to put in a vase. Who told you to pick them? His voice suddenly rose, which startled Sophia into a momentary freeze, then she stammered, Victor, I just thought it looked nice. He glanced around and only then realized that in just half a month he had failed to notice how much the garden had changed. The camellias Evelyn had planted were already half destroyed. And the fruit trees she liked, the little vegetable patch, all of it had been ruined. Following his gaze, Sophia didn't yet see that Victor was on the verge of rage. She laughed at herself and went on, who plants vegetables in a villa? So I had them pull everything up. Victor, I want to plant champagne roses here, lilies over there, and I also want to. Before she finished speaking, Victor had his hand around her throat. Who gave you permission to touch my garden? Sophia's face flushed red. But you said it. You said I could arrange it however I wanted. I said you could arrange it, but I didn't say you could dig it up, and I certainly didn't say you could run wild. You don't deserve that. Sophia cried, tears spilling in big drops. In the past, Victor would have been moved and soft-hearted, but now, he didn't budge. What are you doing? Why didn't you stop them? He turned and shouted at the servants. A few of them stood together trembling. It's Miss Sophia who said so. You said to let her handle it as she wished. Half a month ago it was already uprooted. Half a month ago, he had signed the divorce papers. After that he buried himself in work and hadn't paid any attention to when his backyard had come to look like this. Victor, I'm sorry. Sophia stepped forward and grabbed his hand, but Victor threw her aside and walked into the master bedroom. Sophia hurried after him. Victor, you promised, she can't compare to me, do whatever you want. Victor stormed into the bedroom, opened the wardrobe, and seeing it filled entirely with Sophia's girlish clothes, his eyes darkened with fury. He rummaged through them again and again. Sophia trailed behind. Victor, what are you looking for? Her clothes? I'm asking about Evelyn's clothes, and her jewelry too. Sophia said cautiously, whatever you say, you didn't like them, so I dealt with everything. Victor, He suddenly slapped Sophia hard across the face. She fell to the floor, a look of utter disbelief flashing across her eyes. Victor, furious and out of control, roared, the clothes. Bring her clothes here. Sophia was terrified, the maid beside her trembled. Miss Sophia handled it, we don't know where the clothes are. Sophia lifted her head, you told me to deal with them, I sold them all, I even put the jewelry up on a second-hand platform to recycle. Victor, you said it yourself, you love me, leave it to me to handle, I was just obeying you, what did I do wrong? Victor couldn't help but sneer, he had said all those things himself, how could he forget? The maid spoke again, cautiously, that day Madame came by, she saw it too, and then she packed her things and left. When was it? On the day she returned from her trip. The madam saw them, said nothing, grabbed her luggage and left, never came back. Hearing that, he felt a stab of pain in his chest, as if something had been gouged out. He turned to Sophia and said coldly, someone, throw all her things out. Sophia was stunned, she didn't understand why Victor had suddenly changed his mind. Did I do something wrong, Victor? I can change. I can apologize to her. I'm begging you, please don't let me go, okay? Victor sneered, what do you have to compete with her? Apologize? Evelyn would scorn you for even looking at her. Get her out of here. Sophia and all her shabby clothes were tossed out of the villa. Victor glanced at the empty wardrobe and, thinking of the expression he'd worn the day I said I wanted a divorce, felt a sudden fear. He called me frantically. At the time, I was in a meeting. When I answered, Victor's trembling voice came through with an apology, Evelyn, come back, let's talk properly. Victor, there's no need. I hung up and blocked him. I had originally thought we'd part amicably, but now Victor's attitude made me feel that divorce wouldn't be so simple. It looked like this would have to be settled in court. After hanging up, Rachel came over and told me, it's taken care of. At Lou Corporation, he still doesn't know that you're the largest shareholder now, Evelyn. Do you want to keep going? Of course. After doing business for so many years, you can't afford to be kind. Over the years, I stayed by Victor's side, watching him cut ruthlessly through rivals and defeat them one by one. I learned many of his secrets, and now that I want to beat him, I have to make good use of my relationship with Rachel. Rachel arched an eyebrow at that. I really believe it, romantic failure, professional triumph. You're more suited to sit at the top. So cold-hearted, not sparing a shred of face. You're using Victor's resources and connections to the fullest. I couldn't help but laugh, of course, if you've got money, why worry about not finding a man? Rachel nodded repeatedly at my words, while I looked at my phone. Victor had messaged me again. Annoyed, I deactivated that number and then sent a new one to my clients. By the way, your dad set you up on a blind date. How'd it go? Rachel lit a cigarette, it was nothing special, just a political marriage. We signed a contract, split up after 3 years, amicably. I nodded. Rachel is the only legitimate daughter of the Shin family, no, not the only child. Her father has an illegitimate son, he'd rather groom that child outside than hand the family assets to her, which is why she chose to ally with me. Once she gains a foothold, I'll put all the Shin family's connections to use. Right now Rachel can only rely on me. The two of us have supported each other through hard times to get where we are, and Rachel understands that. I had Rachel help me find a reliable lawyer, and at the same time I let the news of Victor's affair leak out. In no time, the Liu family business began to fall apart. Victor came after me like a madman, but I avoided him and refused to see him. In the middle of the night I was curled up against the headboard with a male model when a piercing ring woke me. I answered and heard, "Evelyn, come take a look, Victor's drunk and keeps calling your name. Come pick him up and take him home. Don't call me anymore. If there's anything, contact Sophia." On the other end of the line, Victor looked at the person opposite him. What did she say? She blocked me, and told me to go find Sophia. Everyone else had called too. Evelyn didn't answer any of them, she'd blocked everyone. Victor couldn't help but give a bitter laugh, his eyes bloodshot. Then he clenched his fist and slammed it down on the coffee table, the glass shattered, his knuckles bleeding. The friends beside him fell silent, frightened. After a long while, one of them finally spoke up, "Victor, you went too far with this. We may play around in our circle, but we still have to keep face. You went overboard that day, letting that woman speak to Evelyn like that, which is why Evelyn got angry. Go back and smooth things over with her first." Yeah, Sophia really had no sense of boundaries. Who would hand over the evidence like that? She even set up an account to record everything. Now everyone knows the whole process of your affair. Victor suddenly realized what had happened. He hurriedly pulled out his phone and glanced at the notifications. Sophia's social media account had been exposed, and all their secrets were out. Victor couldn't help but smile wryly. Sophia truly was his undoing. He scrolled through. Since the day they first met, Sophia had been live-streaming everything. "Today I met Victor for the first time, he's my ideal type. I pretended to be drunk and slumped into his arms, he didn't refuse me. Fantastic. A good beginning is half the battle. I heard he was married to an older woman for 5 years, no kids, perfect, I'm healthy. The advantage of young girls is that our wombs are unused. Haha, we slept together." The comment section erupted with abuse, but Sophia paid it no mind. Day after day she posted the entire process of how she had seduced Victor. Only then did Victor realize that Sophia was a very calculating woman who took photos to keep evidence every time she was with him. So that's why Evelyn was so devastated. After seeing them together she suddenly filed for divorce with no warning. It turned out she had already known everything in private. Sophia really wanted to destroy him. Victor couldn't help but give a bitter laugh. The people around him asked, "Victor, are you all right?" Victor shook his head. What could be wrong with him? He only hated himself for being so stupid, raising a woman like Sophia. And Sophia had shamelessly made the whole affair public. As things unfolded, the company itself was now on the brink. Victor knew he had been ridiculously wrong. What on earth had he seen in Sophia? It was probably those plaintive, moving eyes. Exactly the same as Evelyn's in her youth. The first time he saw Sophia, he couldn't help but stare a moment longer. Later she fell into his arms, clearly on purpose, but Victor, unable to restrain himself, held her tightly. This also gave Sophia the chance to appear around him repeatedly, over and over. In the end, he made his move. Where was Evelyn at that time? Right, Evelyn had flown abroad to meet with a client and negotiate that contract for 3 months. When he heard Sophia say that Evelyn was resourceful, he instinctively felt she was right. Evelyn was indeed clever, even the trickiest clients, once in her hands, would be won over. And during those 3 months, he indulged himself with Sophia without restraint, thinking to himself that she was just a woman and Evelyn wouldn't mind. After all, in the past 5 years he had lost count of how many women he'd had. Yet in the end he still returned to Evelyn's side, this time was no exception. But he had pushed things too far. Thinking this, Victor couldn't wait to see Evelyn. He got up and left. Sophia was waiting outside the bar and hurriedly met him as he came out. "Victor, you finally agreed to see me. I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that." Victor looked at her, a feral smile on his face. Sophia grew a little frightened at the sight. "Victor, do you really know you were wrong?" Sophia hurriedly said, "I know I was wrong. As long as you forgive me, I'll do anything." "All right then, come with me." He took Sophia's hand and led her into the car. Sophia was ecstatic, but she could not have imagined that this night would become the most tragic night of her life. By the time I got the message, Victor was already outside. I had bought a new apartment and went out early and returned late every day. Basically, no one knew I was here. But when Victor appeared and saw the male model beside me, his eyes immediately reddened. "Evelyn, who is he? How could you?" The young man next to me wrapped his arm around me and sneered at him. "You're Evelyn's ex-husband? You're really old." "Evelyn, who is he?" I sighed and shook my head. "Is she that important to you? We're divorced." "We haven't finalized the divorce yet, so you're still my wife." He lunged at me to grab me, but I slapped his hand away. "Victor, don't be so double-faced. For a man it's just fun. In 5 years you've had so many women, and I only found one. How can you not stand it?" At my words, Victor stumbled back 2 steps, a flicker of regret in his eyes. "I know it's all my fault, I was outrageously wrong. Let's start over. Don't make me look down on you. I have proof of your affair, and I've already started legal proceedings. If you don't cooperate, I have plenty of ways to make your life worse than death." At that, Victor heard me say this and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. I closed the door and heard him outside weeping uncontrollably. Shortly after, my phone received a video sent by Victor. In the video, Sophia was being held down by several people, slapped, her hands and feet broken, her face slashed. This was Victor's gesture of sincerity to me. "Evelyn, Sophia hurt you, I will make her pay for it. Don't worry, I will never let her appear in front of you again." This lunatic. I couldn't help but take a deep breath. I hadn't expected him to treat Sophia this way because of me. I shook my head, said nothing, and contacted a lawyer to file a suit immediately. The wrong person wasn't Sophia, it was him. Victor still didn't know the reason and blamed the woman for the mistake. He was truly beyond cure. I couldn't wait any longer. Victor simply wouldn't show up, he didn't answer my calls, and when the day came he refused to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau, trying to stall. He even recruited friends to act as persuaders. How could I ever forgive him? From the moment he told me to give up all my assets, I understood that Victor's feelings weren't love but possession. His face full of contempt made me clearly see my place to him, no more than a house cat or dog. Obedient, sensible, aware of appearances. But I am human, I don't want to spend my life shut up in a villa like a golden canary, competing for him like some prize. I want to achieve my own worth. Right now Victor still expects me to be content with the role of his wife, as if having secured a place beside him I should be grateful. How terrifying. Victor refused, so I had no choice but to sue for divorce. Under public scrutiny, I put everything online, letting everyone witness my decisiveness. I wasn't afraid of a lawsuit. Bolstered by tens of thousands of netizens' support, Victor came under attack. His company, and even his residence, were exposed. He ultimately gave in, because he found he no longer had any say in the company. Taking advantage of the stock slump, I bought up a large number of shares again. Together with Rachel, I overturned the entire Lu Corporation. After the divorce, the first thing I did was convene a shareholders' meeting. By the time Victor realized what had happened, I had already become the new head of his company and had dismissed him. When Victor saw me appear at the company, he finally realized what I intended to do. He staggered a couple of steps. "Evelyn, if you say the word, I'll give the company to you. There's no need for you to. What you give me is your charity, what I take is what I earned by my own ability, and that has nothing to do with you. Victor, I can give up all my assets and I won't lack the courage or strength to start over, but you can't." Only then, looking at me, did Victor understand that he had never really known me, that I actually had the ability to replace him. "Evelyn, I only just realized how formidable you are. Thank you for the compliment. As Sophia likes to say, I have methods, and plenty of them. You'll come to see them in time." He finally understood, but it was too late, he had lost me. He nodded, then turned and staggered away. What greeted me were everyone's congratulations and, along with them, those employees who had once looked down on me, now trembling with fearful respect. When Victor cheated, they circled around Sophia, not caring at all about how I had defended them in the past. I reorganized the workplace, fired quite a few people, and outwardly everyone pretended that everything was fine. At that moment, looking at the bright, spotless office building, I couldn't help smiling. The marriage ended quickly, I got the divorce papers, and with the wealth I gained, I began a new phase of growth. I stood at the pinnacle of power and looked down at the surroundings. Victor was nothing more than a stepping stone in my life. Rachel called me cold-hearted, but only I knew how much effort it took to reach this point. Those people were passers-by, and also my benefactors. I thank Victor, it was his talent that taught me what pain truly is. Later Victor sought me out and stopped me in the parking garage. "Evelyn, let's start over, look." He held up a diamond ring, even larger than the one he'd given Sophia. I shook my head and raised my hand. "Victor, I have money, I can buy my own ring. From the moment you decided to have a child with her, there was no hope for us. Don't come looking for me again." Victor's face went pale in an instant, and he never came to see me again. The last time I heard any news of him was on the crime and accident section. After the divorce, Victor spent his days getting drunk. Sophia broke into his home and, taking advantage of his intoxication, turned on the gas and set it alight. Both of them perished together. The internet erupted in curses, declaring that the two of them, scoundrel and harlot, got what they deserved. The only pity was for the neighbors who were caught up in the blaze and demanded compensation. How could Victor's mother possibly afford compensation? She thought of me, and after Victor died she came looking for me, but I didn't see her. She intercepted me at the company gate and shouted at me, "Evelyn, it's all your fault, you killed my son." I looked at her and sneered, "As a mother you failed to raise your child properly, letting him cheat and betray his marriage. And as an elder you showed no leniency to the younger generation. During our marriage you oppressed us at will. That's your fault. Victor's tragic death was because you didn't raise him right, you can't blame me for that." My imperious mother-in-law, seeing me sitting in the luxury car and berating her, suddenly broke down and cried, shouting and clamoring but helpless. In the end I had someone drag her a little farther away. With my own courage and strength I proved that I could go further and fly higher.